you watched my video last week on what I ate in a week, on a hectic week, you may have noticed I didn't do a great job. I didn't do a great job prepping enough food or having enough things ready. So this week, I'm making a few changes. I'm taking a little bit of time. I have this afternoon to do some meal prep. It's Sunday afternoon, and I'm going to set myself up for success this week. A few of the things I'll be making is a tropical chia pudding, some strawberry protein pancakes with chocolate sauce. I'll also be prepping some vegan tofu feta and sweet potatoes for kale salads. And I'll be making a couple of different yummy kinds of soup, like this veggie-packed cabbage soup and this delicious buffalo cauliflower chowder. I'll also be making grain bowls, so I'll be prepping some grains and some beans today. So I already have my beans soaking here. I have some chickpeas and some red kidney beans. And I'll be making a combination of brown rice and quinoa, and I think maybe some barley sounds really good for grain bowls. And I'm just going to cook those all at the same time in the same pot. But I'm going to get started first with prepping my breakfast. And I'm going to start with this tropical chia pudding, which is super easy, and chia puddings are always fantastic for breakfast. So what I have in here is just one can of full fat coconut milk, and I have a little bit of water I added to it, just a little warm water to get it going and let it, you know, kind of get back to a consistency that I can stir, because when you store it in the pantry, it goes all solid on top. The cream comes to the top and separates, so you'll have to warm it up a little bit or just add a little bit of warm water like I did. And I'm just adding chia seeds to this. Okay, 4 tablespoons of chia seeds. And next, I just want to add in my protein powder. I have vanilla protein powder that I'm adding to this. I'm trying to bump up my protein a little bit, so this is optional. You definitely don't have to put protein powder in there. It's great without it, very healthy for you. I'm just adding that in there just for a boost of protein. I like to work out in the morning, so I like to have something for breakfast that has a good amount of protein in it. And I just have some blue spirulina, which is, it's like a blue algae, if you're not familiar with it. It really doesn't add much flavor. It has a little bit of, and it gets everywhere, it has a little bit of an earthiness to it, which I really like, and it just adds such a fun color. And nutrient-wise, it is super good for you. So if you haven't already, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description box for most of the things that I use today if you decide you want to check them out. So I'm just going to give this a quick mix and get it nice and combined. And you could certainly do this in a blender if you wanted to, or a food processor. I just didn't want to dirty up, you know, too many dishes. Food prep days are, you know, the prepping isn't so bad, but when it comes to the end of the day of prepping and you have 1,000 dishes to do, that's the part that I don't really care for. So this looks pretty good to me. I'm going to get it into my containers. And this looks pretty liquidy now, but it will thicken up while it's in the refrigerator. And I'm just pouring it into I could have gotten a funnel. I'm just pouring it into 2 glass containers for me. I like to use glass containers because I like to see the pretty fun color. It makes it so much fun and so enjoyable to eat your food when it looks nice. And I made a huge mess, so let me clean this up. So once my chia puddings have set up just slightly, I'm going to put a few toppings on them, and I have here just some slivered almonds. And I have a little bit of hemp seed and some shredded coconut. And in the mornings, when I'm ready to eat my chia pudding, I'll top these with some fresh bananas, maybe some mango, whatever I have on hand. I know I have fresh bananas and I have frozen mango, so maybe both of those. And I'm just going to top these with a few hemp seeds. And real quick, if you would, I truly appreciate you guys watching, but it would mean a lot to me if you are not already subscribed to hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy this kind of content. It means a lot to me and I truly appreciate it. So for my strawberry pancakes, I have my iron skillet heating up here. It's nice and well seasoned. I did spray just a little bit of avocado oil in the spray bottle just to make sure we don't have anything stick. But as far as the pancakes go, let me show you this quick and easy recipe. Also happens to be high protein and gluten-free this week. So I have about 1.5 cups of oat flour, and you can grind up your own oats in the blender if you don't have oat flour. You know, it's just, just throw it in the blender, grind it up till it's to the texture that you like. Or you could just use whole quick cooking oats instead of blending it up. That works too. I've done that before. And I have about 1 cup of almond flour. These are just all the dry ingredients. I have, again, 2 scoops of protein powder going into this recipe. If you don't want to do protein powder, you could also just leave it out altogether and add a few more tablespoons of either almond flour or the oat flour. So that's going in. And as far as spices, super simple. I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt, I have some baking soda, and I have 1.5 teaspoons of beetroot powder. And the beetroot powder does not really add too much flavor-wise. Beetroot powder has kind of an earthy, sweet flavor. If you're really looking for it, you might be able to tell it's in there, but probably not. It's just going to make the pancakes a nice, pretty, fun color again. Again, starting with a colorful, fun breakfast. Alright, and once my dry ingredients are incorporated pretty well, I just want to go in with my wet ingredients. And I have about 1.5 cups of almond milk, unsweetened. And I have about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And that's just going to make a quick vegan buttermilk. And that will, well, it should react with our baking soda in here and give us a nice fluffy pancake. So we'll see. We're going to try. Alright, so I'll go in with this. And I also have a flax egg, which is just 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed and 1 tablespoon of water. And that's just to help bind it. Pancakes usually don't need too much in there to help bind them, but when you use when you're using like gluten-free flours, sometimes they can be like a little bit crumbly, so you may need to add a little bit of flax or chia in there just to bind them together. And if you're not vegan, I guess you could always just add an egg if you're just vegetarian and not vegan. Now I need a little bit more liquid. The thing about almond flour is it really soaks up the liquid, so we'll need a little bit more liquid in there. How pretty does that look? What a pretty, fun color. Alright, I'm just going to go in with my strawberries. I have about 1.5 cups of chopped strawberries. Strawberries aren't in season right now, so I used frozen and I just let them thaw out and chop them up, and they'll be perfect. These are going to be so good. And I did not use any kind of a sweetener in here. One, because the protein powder I put in here has, you know, it's already sweet. It's vanilla protein powder, so it has already some natural sweetness. That one that I use has monk fruit. But if you eliminate the protein powder, feel free to put some maple syrup, some date syrup, or your sweetener of choice in here to sweeten them up a little bit. But I'm also having these with chocolate sauce over the top, so I don't want to add too much sweetener. Let me get a ladle and I'm going to get these cooking. And this will make quite a few pancakes, so I'll have plenty for this week, and I'll probably have enough to share with Tony if he decides he wants some of these, and he probably will. All right, and I think my pan is hot enough there, and I've let this sit for about 5 minutes just to let the batter kind of come together. I'm going to get these going, and I'm going to make nice big pancakes so that, you know, I can just have like 1 or 2 in the morning. It's a busy time, y'all. It's busy, so I can't be fooling around with multiple things. I have to have 1 or 2 things and get them and go. So once my pancake is kind of brown around the edges and I have all these little bubbles, I can attempt to flip the pancake here. We'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, not bad. Oh, these smell really good. Smell amazing. Let that cook another couple of minutes, and I've got a whole bunch to go. All right, I have my nice big stack of strawberry pancakes here, meal prepped and ready to go for the week. And I have for breakfast here just a small stack for me to enjoy right now. But I wanted to share with you the chocolate sauce that I have just fallen in love with and have been eating on lots of things lately. So what I have in here is just 2 tablespoons of dark cocoa powder, a half a scoop of protein powder, and about a teaspoon of espresso powder. Trust me, this makes a fantastic chocolate sauce. And I'm just adding a little bit of almond milk just till I get it to the right consistency. I have also just a couple of times used some warm coffee to mix it up, and it turns out so good. You could also top these pancakes with some fresh fruit, like some fresh strawberries and maybe some vegan yogurt or maple syrup, just bananas, however you like to eat them, powdered sugar. But I love strawberries and chocolate, so that's what I'm going with today. Some chocolate sauce over my strawberry pancakes. The next thing I want to get prepped are my grains. And I'm going to make a mixture this week of red quinoa, pearl barley, and brown rice. And I have just gone ahead and rinsed these really well. You want to rinse especially your quinoa and your rice. Rinsing the quinoa can really take a lot of the bitterness out of the quinoa. If you've tasted quinoa before and you thought, well, it's really bitter, maybe try rinsing it really well. Swish it around in a bowl full of cold water until all the cloudiness is gone, and that will take most of the bitterness out of the quinoa. So I really love it. Just take the time, takes a couple minutes, go ahead and rinse it off. And I have about a half cup of each, just going right into my rice cooker. And I love pearl barley. Pearl barley is so good. And I'm just going to season this very simply with just a teaspoon of salt, because when I use it in whatever recipe or grain bowl that I'm using the grains in this week, I want to have control over the flavor. You know, so if you flavor it now, you're stuck with the same flavor all week. But if you just season it with a little bit of salt, you can add whatever seasonings you want for that meal that particular day, whether it be like a Mexican-inspired burrito bowl or a curry, or maybe some citrus in there, really good in a salad. So I'm just going to pop the lid down and turn it on. And I'll put it on the brown rice setting and just let it go. And I'll move on to making my soup. Okay, I have all of my veggies chopped for my veggie soup. I have carrots, celery, onions, garlic, cabbage. I have my beans, some tomatoes, and some spices. The spices I'm using, pretty simple. This soup has so much flavor, so you don't really need to add a lot. I just have some salt and pepper, some oregano, some fennel seed, and some tarragon. You can use whatever seasonings you like. Some rosemary and thyme would be good in here also, or you could leave it pretty simple with just some salt and pepper. So the first thing I want to do is get my pan heated up a little bit. All right, and I'm going in first with my onions. I'm just kind of going to dump and go on this soup. It's going to cook a really long time, so it's going to develop a lot of flavor, and you can really just add everything in here at once. And I'm using about half of the yellow onion that I chopped, and the other half I'm going to save for my cauliflower chowder that I'm making next. I should have chopped some more celery too, but I didn't think about it, so I'll have to chop another stalk of celery, but that's okay. And I'm just going to go in with all of my cabbage, and this is about 4 cups of cabbage. And if you've ever cooked cabbage before, you know it wilts down to almost nothing, kind of like kale or spinach. So I'm just going in with all of that. And there's no need to add oil here. All of these veggies have like a lot of water, so as they cook down, they'll release that water, and they'll, you know, just kind of steam saute in the pan. There's no need for oil in this recipe. This is a super healthy recipe, and it's also great if you're on a weight loss journey, if you're trying to lose a few pounds. This is kind of like, you know, I don't know if you ever heard of that, you know, like old-fashioned cabbage diet soup. It's kind of like that, but it has a little bit more to it. I'm going to add some beans, and you could add potatoes or pasta to this too, but since I'm meal prepping this, and this is going to last all week, I don't like to add pasta or grains to it at the beginning when I cook it, because the pasta will tend to get a little bit mushy in the refrigerator, and same thing with the grains. They'll kind of go gooey. So what I like to do is just prep my grains separately, and if I want to have some grains in my soup that day, I'll just put a scoop of grains in my soup, and that way they, you know, it doesn't get so gummy and, I don't know, I guess a little bit like too thick. Because I really enjoy the broth of this soup. The broth is just, it's just so amazing. So I like to keep it nice and brothy, because just to drink some of this hot broth from this soup, it just is like, at the end of a hard work day, it's just like, it soothes your soul. It's so good. I don't know how else to explain it. You know, it's a soup thing. If you love soup, you get it, right? And I'm just going to let these saute down a little bit before I add my tomato paste. And I am going to be adding this entire thing of tomato paste because I want that really deep, rich flavor. So I'll be adding the whole thing plus a little bit of better than bouillon seasoning. And if you don't have that, you can use whatever vegetable broth or vegetable bouillon cube that you like to use. But I find in this particular soup that the better than bouillon, like the dark, rich kind of beef substitute one, works really good in this soup. So let me grab my garlic. And that's just about 2 cloves of chopped garlic. If you like more garlic, by all means add more garlic. But Mr. Tony says I smell garlicky enough, so I'm just gonna stick to the 2 cloves. So after we have wilted this down just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add my tomato paste. And I'm just going to let this cook down just a little bit in the pot, just so it can kind of brown up, and you want to see it kind of change colors a little bit and go from a bright red to a little bit deeper of a kind of brick red, which if you have the heat up high doesn't take too long, just a minute or so. Kind of cook that tomato flavor down and give it a nice rich umami flavor. And then I'm just going to go in with a spoonful of the Better Than Bouillon veggie paste. Just cook that down in there just a little bit. And oh my goodness, does this ever smell delicious. And I haven't even added our seasonings yet. So my salt, pepper, tarragon, fennel, and oregano. Oh man. And the longer you can let this cook, the better, the more the flavors will develop. And I'm going in with a whole 15-ounce can of stewed tomatoes. And you can break these up if you like. It's going to cook a long time, so they break up enough for me, and I don't even mind if they're whole, because I happen to absolutely love tomatoes in any form, so it doesn't bother me if they kind of stay whole like this. And this is a really hearty soup, more like a stew, so the large chunks in there are pretty good. So I just have my beans that I have let soak overnight, and I've just rinsed and drained them. And this started out dry as 1 cup of dry chickpeas and 1 cup of dried red kidney beans. And I'm using a little more than half of that in my soup, and the other half I'm going to just cook plain the same way I did my grains, so that I can have those for grain bowls or burritos during the week. And the next thing I'm going to add is just some water, and I have about 4 cups of water in there like that, and I'll just bring it to a simmer, put the lid on, and cook it, turn it down, and let it cook on low for at least 1 hour. Oh, you know what? I completely forgot. I am also going to add a bay leaf, probably 2. I'll have to run out to the pantry and get those. I knew there was something I had in my mind, but forgot. So I'll pop a bay leaf in here. We'll bring it to a simmer, turn it down, and let it cook over low heat for at least an hour, or until my beans and chickpeas are cooked. But really, the longer you can let it cook, the better. And it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon now, and I plan on having this for dinner tonight. So it's going to slow cook for probably about 3 hours. All right, so I just covered the remainder of my dried beans with some water, and I'm just going to simply season them with a good amount of salt. That's a lot of water, and I want them to have a little bit of flavor. So I'm going to add quite a bit of salt in there. So those are the other half of the beans that I soaked from dry, and I'm just going to cook these over slow on the slow cook setting. And they'll cook away for a couple of hours. The next thing I'm going to get going is just some roasted veggies. I have chopped one sweet potato for my kale salads, and I'm going to make some crispy chickpeas. I'm going to put these in here to roast, and I saved my aquafaba, of course, for using in other dishes. So I'm just going to spread these out a little bit on the pan. And for my cauliflower chowder, I have 2 bags of frozen cauliflower. One of them I'm going to roast, and one of them I'm going to put directly into the chowder. So these will shrink up pretty good when you roast them. So that's why I have 2 bags. It seems like a lot, but it cooks down like most other vegetables that are full of water. And that's my oven. I just had it preheating to 400 degrees so I can get these going. And I'm just, again, going to season these pretty simply because everything else will be seasoned. And we'll have seasoning in our soup and in our salads. So just a little bit of salt to get it going, and just mix it around a little bit. And I'm going to put these in the oven and roast them probably for about 30-40 minutes until they're nice and brown and toasty. All right, moving right along to my buffalo cauliflower chowder. I just have a little bit of the aquafaba that I saved in a jar there that I'm going to saute my veggies in, and I just have the other half of my onion that I had already chopped, 1 stalk of celery and 1 carrot and 1 clove of garlic. And I'm just going to get that going and let that saute until it is nice and soft and tender. And the only other ingredients going in here are some veggie stock. And I used a veggie stock powder, like a better than chicken, but in powder. And I'll link this below. It's really good. It's kind of on the salty side, but if you don't have some already made homemade veggie stock or low sodium veggie stock, this one works good. And it's really tasty. And I have some hot sauce. I have some homemade hot sauce that I made last year out of some yummy, very spicy peppers out of my garden. But use whatever kind of hot sauce you like for like your buffalo dip or, you know, your cauliflower wings, whatever hot sauce you like. Use that. This one's really good. It's really spicy though, y'all. Really spicy. All right, now I'm just going to hit these with a little bit of salt. There's quite a bit of salt in the veggie stock, so I'm not going to use too much salt there. And if you're doing oil-free and salt-free, by all means, leave the salt out. But I need the salt. I'm running a lot of miles lately, and I'm doing a lot of sweating, so salt is important for me right now. And I have my other bag of frozen cauliflower, and it has just thawed out. My onions have cooked down till they're nice and soft and translucent, and the celery is nice and soft, and the carrots, yep, they're about there too. So I can go ahead and add my bag of frozen cauliflower. I'm just going to add it right in there. And my veggie stock. And I just want to make sure that I have enough to cover that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water in there. Once it's covered like that, I'm just going to bring it to a boil and then turn it down and let it simmer for about 15 minutes till the cauliflower and the carrots are nice and thoroughly cooked, while the rest of my veggies finish roasting in the oven. And while my cauliflower is bubbling away and getting nice and soft and tender, I'm just going to go ahead and prep my tofu feta to top my salads with this week. And I'm just starting with half a block of, I have extra firm tofu here, and I'm just cutting it into cubes. I like mine a little bit smaller, about the size, you know, you would have for chunks of feta, right? And I'm just going to transfer those to a glass storage container. And the longer this sits, the better. This is so good if you haven't tried it. It's great on top of salads or in wraps or just to snack on right, right out of the bowl. It's so yummy. So to my tofu, I'm just going to add some low-calorie Italian salad dressing. You could just use olive oil if you like, but I don't like to use that much oil. You could also, in place of this, just use some aquafaba and spices, right? But I like doing it this way because it adds so much flavor and it doesn't have quite as much oil, but it really marinades it well. And it has all of those delicious, yummy spices already in there. But I do like to add just a little bit of extra oregano. So you want it to really taste like feta, right? And there's a little bit of salt already in the salad dressing, so I'm not going to add any salt. I'm just going to mix this around and pop it in the fridge, and it is good to go for the week. All right, my veggies are done roasting, so let's put this buffalo chowder together. My cauliflower, carrots, and celery are nice and soft and tender. I have my roasted cauliflower over here, my crispy chickpeas, and my sweet potatoes for topping my salads this week. So I'll turn that around there like that. So I just want to show you how I put together the rest of the cauliflower chowder. So in here I have just 1 cup of extra firm tofu, and this is what's going to give it some creaminess and some body and some protein. Important. The protein's important. And I have just 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And I'm going to add my hot sauce right here into the blender. It's very hot, y'all. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons. That was a little bit more than 2 tablespoons. We'll see how spicy it is. I love spicy stuff, so that'll probably work for me. If I need a little bit more heat, I'll add a little bit more. And I'm just going to add some of my cauliflower from out of the soup and a few carrots, just some of the soup in there to make it nice and creamy. And if you have really hot sauce in your blender like I do, be careful and do not breathe that steam. Don't do it. It'll be bad news. Please don't do that. Alright, and that should be good, and I'll get that blended right up. And I'll just add it back in to the soup pot along with my roasted cauliflower. And that was about half of the cauliflower that I had in the pot. Alright, and I just want to taste this to see where it is on the spice level and on the salt level before I add it back into my soup. And be careful if you do this. This is hot. This is very hot. Oh man. If you didn't want to make soup out of this, this would be a great mac and cheese or queso dip. It's so good. This would be a really great low-fat, high-protein cheese dip. And it's perfect. It doesn't need any more spice or any more salt. I might add just a few crushed red pepper flakes on the top of my bowl of soup for garnish. So I'll leave that spice level where it is for that. Oh, this is going to be amazing. Make sure I get all of that out of there. So yummy. I am going to thoroughly enjoy this week, let me tell you. I am going to eat good this week. I'm excited about it. You should be excited about your food. Don't let anybody tell you you shouldn't be. You should be excited about it. Cauliflower is nice and toasty and roasty, oil-free. And, you know, I roasted it alongside the chickpeas, and I might get a chickpea or two. Sneaking in there, but that's okay. I think the chickpeas would probably make a really good crunchy garnish for this chowder. So I'll have to check that out. So I am just going to plate up a bowl of this chowder for lunch. Oh, this looks so good. What is not to love about creamy, cheesy soup? And I am just going to garnish this with a little bit of hot sauce and some of my crispy, crunchy chickpeas. Oh, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait to eat this. Oh, this is so good. You get a little bit of hot sauce, a little bit of carrots and chickpeas. So, so good. And you could certainly garnish this with a little bit of finely chopped celery, some green onion, some parsley, which is what I'll probably do when I eat it during the week, just to freshen it up a little bit. But this is really good. I'm gonna have to put the rest of that away so I don't get full eating this before my other soup is even ready. And let me move on to the last thing that I'm meal prepping, which is going to be just a simple oil-free hummus that I can snack on during the week with some raw veggies. And for my super easy oil-free hummus, I'm just starting with 1 can of chickpeas. I meant to separate out some chickpeas to cook from dry, and when I went to soak my dried beans, I just completely forgot. So this is just 1 can of chickpeas, and I have left a little bit of the aquafaba in there, and then I save the rest. And I just store the aquafaba. You can store it in the refrigerator, or you can put it in an ice cube tray, freeze it, and then put it in a container or a Ziploc baggie. Either of those things work. It lasts a really long time, and it's great for all kinds of stuff. You can use aquafaba as like the miracle kitchen ingredient. It's so great. Don't throw it out. Don't save all of it if you eat a lot of chickpeas either, though, because then you'll end up with a stockpile taking up room like I do. No, but it's great. I save it. So I have 1 teaspoon of salt, and in here I have 1 ice cube, just to help it blend up, 1 ice cube, and I have 3 cloves of garlic that I roasted right alongside my cauliflower and sweet potatoes and chickpeas. And I have the juice of 1 lemon, and I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of tahini. I have a nice creamy, runny tahini here. Yours might be a little bit thicker or thinner. Just go with I'd start with about 1 to 2 tablespoons of tahini. And that depends on how much tahini you like in your hummus too. But I like it to be on the lemony, garlicky side and less on the strong tahini flavor side. So we'll see where this goes. This should be just about perfect for me. And I don't like adding any oil. I know it's traditional to add the olive oil in there. It's a whole flavor and everything. But it also adds a lot of calories and a lot of fat. So if you have weight loss goals or fitness goals, or you're trying to you know, reach a certain macro balance like I am, you want to try to avoid that extra added oil. So I like it just like this. It comes out great. You won't miss the oil. It's fantastic, and I love snacking on it. Just raw veggies, raw peppers, celery, carrots. It's great in wraps. It's great as a pasta sauce. Fantastic to meal prep ahead. Okay, I think we're just about there. I like to blend it until it's nice and really smooth and creamy. Oh, that looks perfect. Just give it a little taste. Yeah, nice and lemony. Just a hint of the tahini flavor to make it rich and creamy. And I'm just going to store this in a glass container. I'm going to top it with a little crushed red pepper and a few of the toasted chickpeas, and it will be ready for me to snack on during the week, in the fridge and ready to go. And these are just a few of the meals that I enjoyed this week. I thoroughly enjoyed all of them. They were so good, so tasty, and so great to have on hand. Again, I so appreciate you guys watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!